Hey, it's James here from GoodGuitarist.com, and today is the fourth installment in our series of building good habits that will ensure your success on guitar. Because usually around this time of year, we'll tell ourselves, I'm going to change. I'm going to go to the gym for 2 hours every day, and I'm only going to eat salad. And we create all these unrealistic, unsustainable expectations of ourselves. And then when we start to falter, we quit. And we tell ourselves, it's not for me. But I know not only from my own experience, but also from my research on this subject, if you just add one small thing, like I'm going to practice guitar for 10 minutes a day before I watch TV, if that's all you got to commit to, you'll have a really high chance of succeeding over time, and keeping on succeeding and getting better in the long run. Quick recap, lesson 1 was about making it a habit to practice 10 minutes a day. Our second habit was related to how we deal with our strumming hand and rhythm. The third one involved some good chord switching habits. And today I want to tie that all in with a simple way to assess and improve your overall ability on guitar. Kind of being able to see yourself the same way that I would see a student when they come into me for a lesson. When somebody comes to me for a lesson, I see them play a little bit, I talk to them about guitar for a bit, and I come up with a pretty good idea of what the fastest, most efficient way to improve would be for them specifically. So I want to show you a little bit of that process. That way you can do it for yourself. Really quick, if you have not been keeping up with this series, I have a page on my website that you can bookmark. I'll put a link to it down below. And when you're down there, if you could take a moment to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, even just to say hello, or if you have any questions, I would really appreciate that. It really helps me out here. I also have a free crash course that you can sign up for. There's a link in the corner and down below for that as well. Now, I don't want to come off all flowers and rainbows when I say this, but you are unique. Nobody is going to learn guitar or play guitar exactly like you. Your hands are unique. Your brain is unique. Your experiences are unique. And long story short, it's really important for you to learn how to see the good and the bad, not in who you are as a guitar player, but in how you approach guitar. Because sometimes I'll get a new student who's been playing for years, but they aren't getting any better. And they'll say, oh, I practice a lot, but I can't seem to get any further. And I'll investigate. Turns out they just keep practicing things that they're already good at. And there's nothing wrong with that. But they ignore some areas where they could make some really fast, really easy improvement. Maybe their chord vocabulary is massive. They've learned tons of songs, can play tons of chord switches effortlessly. Maybe they're even good at bar chords. But their rhythm is off, even after years of playing guitar, because they never seriously addressed it. And as a result, they sound choppy. They have a hard time getting through entire songs. But the thing is, if they knew exactly what to practice and had a good plan for their rhythm and therefore their guitar playing would improve immensely. So we're going to learn to identify those areas where we can achieve the most growth. And since everybody's different, as I go through these, you're probably going to be pretty good at half of these things and not so much at the other half, and that's going to be different for everybody. Now, the first thing is your posture. Whether you sit or stand as you play guitar, how you hold the guitar is really important because that determines how long your muscles and tendons and joints are going to last. If you hold the guitar in the right place for your particular body shape, you're going to get more leverage. It's going to take less force to press down the strings. You're going to be able to strum the strings in a way where they're in a better spot. Because maybe the guitar is a little too high and you're using all these extra muscles to kind of lift your shoulder, and that adds tension and it makes your rhythm all shaky, for physiological reasons and not for any you don't have rhythm kind of reasons, right? Holding the guitar right and sitting in a comfortable way, you're going to be able to practice for longer. To really get down to it, I recommend practicing in front of a mirror. You can just go to whatever store like IKEA or Walmart and just get one of those tall mirrors. Last time I bought one, it was $10, but that was before COVID, so they're probably 30 now or something. But you get one of those so you can see yourself, and you'll be surprised what you can see when you look at yourself objectively like that Versus without the mirror, when you're just kind of like looking down at your hands, getting the same old view that you always get, you're going to catch a little bit more, getting that outside perspective. And 3 things that I want you to look out for when you're doing this are slouching. So like slouching over the guitar, that comes hand in hand with holding the guitar in a way where you're looking at your fingers. So see how my guitar is like tipping out? This makes my wrist bend horribly. You want the guitar in like that. You want to be sitting up straight. And the third one is not having the guitar neck tilted upward, which, if it's down, it's too high to strum comfortably and it's too low to do chords comfortably. This way, you get, it's much easier to reach the fretboard. It puts it in a much better position. You're going to be able to improve your technique faster. And it puts your strings here a little bit lower and in an easier position for strumming, so you're not like lifting your strumming arm with your shoulder. Another aspect of ourselves that I would take a look at is how much of our body we involve in the rhythm of a song. And it basically boils down to, you could tap your foot as you play or like nod along with the rhythm of the song. When I watch people who are really good at playing guitar or, music in general, you could press mute and you could still see the rhythm going through them, through their entire body. And that's not something that they just have. That's something that you pick up by playing music a lot and letting yourself get into it. Counting along is like the gateway into that whole world. Learning to tap your foot's really important too. Ultimately, it comes down to your willingness to just participate in rhythm whenever you can. Like if you're listening to the radio, you can just kind of like tap away and kind of like try to tap the beat of the song. I'm confident that drumming to the radio on the steering wheel of my car has improved my rhythm, and it's helped me tap into particular grooves in music that I otherwise wouldn't necessarily be learning on guitar, and that's improved my rhythm drastically. And yeah, practicing outside of guitar, that's a huge game changer, because then, you could be at work or whatever and you're still improving on that. Now, another thing that I would take a look at, we're going to get our mirror going again, and this time we want to observe our strumming and our chord making separately. As we talked about earlier in this series, in terms of strumming, there are some particular movements we can make, and this is your opportunity to judge where you're at. You can ask yourself, does my strumming arm look smooth and steady? Or does it look all janky and like it's going all over the place? And that will help you determine if that's something that you should really focus on. Another awesome tool, I consider this like a mirror, but for your ears. You can record yourself and then listen back to it. And then not only can you see if it looks smooth, but you can also ask yourself if it sounds smooth. Everybody has a phone nowadays, and every phone has a recording program. So it's really easy. Just pull out your phone, press record, and then just practice a little bit, try playing a song or whatever. And then you listen back to it. And you can do the same thing for your chord hand. You in the mirror, watch the efficiency of movement, see if everything looks good. And then you can record yourself and you can listen for buzzing or any of those other issues, and I guarantee you've watched a lot of people play guitar and listened to a lot of music. So you can trust yourself to use your eyes and your ears and assess what could use the most work, and that's going to help you make massive improvement. For me, it was a huge turning point. I was pretty good. I got accepted into music school and all that. And my first teacher there told me that I should record myself. And I was like, why would I want to waste my time doing that? But that was my assignment, so I did it. I played some stuff, I recorded it. And then when I listened to it, it was like, whoa, my rhythm isn't, locking in like I thought it was when I was in the moment, just listening to it from an outside perspective. I heard all these little stringy noises and all these little buzzing notes and things that normally I didn't realize were there. My brain just ignored them. I knew what I needed to fix. That way I could just kind of attack it. It wasn't a mystery to me anymore. And it helped me discover exactly what needed to change so I could design a practice routine for maximum improvement. And on the other side of that, in terms of motivation, hearing yourself play can be pretty inspiring. I'm not one to like sniff my own farts, but sometimes recordings of me will pop up from gigs and whatnot. And I'll remember feeling awful about my playing on that particular night. Maybe my tone was off or my solos weren't like hitting like I wanted them to. Then I'll listen to a recording of it like 2 years later and I'll be like, no, it's pretty good. In hindsight, I can be more objective and see myself as someone else sees me rather than my usual critical, I need to get better at guitar self that's always, striving to improve. The next thing that I want to go over is to ask yourself whether you're a sheet music collector or a song knower. I couldn't come up with a better way to put it, so I'm just going to be straight up. I see a lot of students, they've been playing guitar for ages. They have tons of sheet music. They bring their books to me with all these songs in them. And if you take the book away, they can't play the songs. And even when they can play songs without the book, they have all these habits. Like they'll pause the song at a certain point, and then I'll just open up the book and I'll be like, oh, that's the end of the page. So they get used to pausing when they flip the page. Guitar is really neat in the sense that we use it in a bit of a different way than orchestral musicians, like most piano players or violin players and all those guys. You just put sheet music in front of them. They read it from start to finish like nobody's business. They're really good at it and it's really cool. That's a great skill. But with guitar, we kind of have a different focus and it's a bit more adaptable. The notes aren't written in stone. You can play the same song in so many different ways. It's not about doing it exactly like it is on the page. If you watch famous artists, there'll be the recording that they did on their famous album, and then you go watch them play live. Like, you watch Neil Young go play live. Maybe he adds an extra bar here, maybe he changes a word there, or there's an extra verse, or he has this cool intro thing that he does with his live band. It's like when you tell a story to somebody, and then they tell that story to another person, and then that person tells that story to another person. The words aren't going to be the same in everybody's retelling of the story, but the story is going to be the same. It's going to have the same point. And sheet music kind of freezes things in time. It's great to learn how to play something exactly a certain way, but I feel like when we just have sheet music, we end up focusing on the page too much. We have our nose in the page instead of in the moment. And the cool thing is, these aren't exclusives. It's not like you either use sheet music or not. Sheet music helps to train you, but you do have to have that moment where you decide, this is going to be one of the songs that I can play all the way through. And in order to do that, there's a bit of a process. It's too much to get into here. I'd have to make like 10 lessons about it. I go through it in my course, Strumming Made Simple, and I'd like to make a whole series about it, about just this one thing, because it is important as a guitar player to have that repertoire, have those songs that you can just play. Imagine this scenario. You go to a friend's house and you want to play a song for them. You can either be like, oh, I'd love to play this, but I forgot my sheet music at home. Or you could just play it. So that's where I'm coming from on that. And now the final thing, and this is going to tie us back into where it all began with motivation. As you're taking a look at yourself, you have to be honest about how much you want to reach your goals. Your time is currency. You can spend or invest your time however you see fit, and it's up to you to decide how much time you're willing to invest in guitar. You need to realize that in order to hit the point where you can just comfortably strum some chords with a strumming pattern, the investment is 10 or 15 minutes a day. But if you want to go a little bit further, you have to increase the investment. Just like if you go for a walk every day, you'll be at this level of fitness. If you go for a run every day, you'll be at the next level of fitness, So the next investment might be 20 or 30 minutes a day, And if you're a daily routine person, that's how I would think about it. But some people are on a different cycle, like a weekly cycle. So instead of thinking about doing it daily, you could think, okay, I'm going to do 5, 20, or 30-minute sessions a week. Those are just generalizations. Your mileage may vary, but doing 10 minutes, 5 days a week is great for a beginner, for somebody who wants to just strum chords and play songs. It's awesome. 30 minutes, 5 times a week will carry you into intermediate territory. And to become an advanced player, you need to practice many hours a week and also perform or play with other musicians, like in a band. I can't specify any times because at that point, you'll know for yourself what it takes to grow and hit the next level. But essentially, it's a combination of both practicing and putting yourself out there. Even if you go to open mics or whatever, like that's how you really hit the next level. Now, here's a big disclaimer. Do not measure your happiness by how long you spend practicing. It's a trap that I fell into. I hit a point where I would practice 2 to 4 hours every single day, 7 days a week. I did that for 4 years straight. Some days I practiced up to 6 hours. But I started measuring my self-worth in those terms. And I hit a point where life's obligations got in the way and I couldn't keep up the schedule. That made me feel awful. I felt like I sucked at guitar and like I wasn't, just because I wasn't putting in those massive hours. And eventually I got over it. I realized it's more important to simply put in the time when you get the chance. At this point, I'm 37. My kids need me all the time. My house, I got to fix stuff around the house all the time. I have this whole channel to run all the time. It feels like I have 5 full-time jobs. And practicing guitar for my own enjoyment, it just can't be a priority. I practice guitar to learn the songs that I teach you guys. I research teaching guitar or how to learn better. I think about how to help my students. And I put all that before myself and my own enjoyment of music, right? But at the same time, I feel pretty good about myself and my guitar playing because when I do pick up a guitar, I enjoy it. It's still fun even after 18 years. When I sit down to practice, even if it's just 15 minutes, I can get to work immediately because I've gone through the things that we've talked about during this entire series so many times over and over again. And I think it's just important to appreciate where you're at with guitar and remember that it's better to scale down your time investment to something you can consistently do than it is to commit to this massive time investment and feel guilty about not following through. Now that's all for today. Don't forget to check out my free crash course. It'll guide you through the early steps of guitar. I also have a course, Learn Guitar Once and For All, that starts with the same stuff, but it takes you all the way to confident strummer who knows all the basic chords, all the most useful strumming patterns, and all that good stuff. There's links for all that down in the description and in the corner of this video. Please like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon if you want to learn more guitar with me here on YouTube. Leave a comment if you have a question or even just to say hi. Have a fun time practicing, and I'll see you soon.